All righty, we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Rupinoff. I'm the founder of I'm First and Chief Strategy Officer for Strive for College. Welcome to our live web chat with colleges for Wednesday, October 25th, 2017. Thanks so much to all of you who have registered in advance for this event and are watching with us through Webinar Jam. We're also streaming this live through YouTube, so hi to anyone out there watching us on YouTube. Really excited to be joined by an esteemed panel of diverse group of colleges and universities who I will give a chance to introduce themselves in a minute, but I wanted to run through our roster. Franklin Gaglione is admissions counselor from Elmhurst College, and he is trying to join us. He's that missing box there, running into some technical difficulties. So if you see one more face pop up as we're going here, don't be alarmed. That's just Franklin. Taylor Brown is assistant director of admissions at Gettysburg College. Damian Garcia is Associate Director of Admission at Johns Hopkins University. Jonathan Williams is Director of Admissions at New York University. And Shai Yi is Senior Program Administrator for Student Support Services at Rutgers University-New Brunswick. So in a few minutes, we're going to move into some brief info sessions from all of our college panelists. We're going to have a short moderated Q&A. I have a few questions I want to ask you guys that will give each panelist a chance to answer. And then we'll get to some student questions. So students, please, as you have questions, type them into the chat box. I'll be monitoring them, and we'll moderate the Q&A for our colleges. At the end of our chat, questions can be general for every institution to answer, or maybe more pointed at one institution in particular that you're already interested in. We'll try to get through as many of our students' questions as time will allow. So before I turn it over to our colleges, I do have a brief commercial I need to offer to tell you a little bit about my organization and our programs. Starting with I'm First, which, if you're not already familiar, is an awesome website all about first-generation college students. You can follow a first-gen student blog, find an archive of these chats and other virtual events that we've done over the years, and watch video testimonials that we're collecting from first-generation college students and graduates from across the country. It's a great source to find inspiration and encouragement on your journey to make it to college. I'm First is now part of a larger nonprofit organization called Strive for College. And together we really share the belief that every student who deserves a shot at college should get one. And so our mission is to connect those students with the know-how and support that they need. And Strive does this through a equally awesome website and now iOS app where aspiring college students can connect with online mentors to receive one-on-one guidance and support through the college admissions process. You can research and connect with colleges, including the ones that are with us tonight. You can collaborate with your mentor on college essays and complete your college applications together. So if you're in need of help navigating the college process, go to striveforcollege.org, sign up to connect with a mentor just after we're done here with our chat. So without further ado, since Franklin hasn't joined us yet, we'll get started with Taylor to learn a little bit more about Gettysburg College.
Hello, everybody. Like I said, my name is Taylor. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at Gettysburg College, coming to you live from my office, which is the former office of President Eisenhower. So I figured I'd start with a cool little fun fact for you. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of Gettysburg College. We are a national college of liberal arts and sciences, located, of course, in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So I trust if you're not familiar with the college, you are familiar from your history classes with the place of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So we're a really interesting place in that we are a highly residential college. It's about 2,600 students, all undergraduate and 100% residential. But we're also in a town that gets about 3 million visitors per year. So it's not really rural, it's not really urban or suburban. It is a tourist town. And so that's really the best way to describe it, because that's sort of a category of its own. We're about an hour away from Baltimore and about an hour and a half away from Washington, D.C., with which we have several close ties. So the first thing you should really know about Gettysburg is that we're a highly community-oriented institution. So students are coming to Gettysburg for a variety of academic reasons, but if there's anything that all the students have in common, it's that they really value the sense of community that is at Gettysburg. So I imagine when you're picturing college, you might imagine a giant lecture hall with stadium-style seating, with the professor at the bottom, with a PowerPoint. None of our classes look like that at Gettysburg. The average class size is 17. The student-faculty ratio is 9-to-1. So your biggest classes, your introductory courses, freshman year, might be 30, 35 students. And so it's not uncommon for a professor to go by their first name or to invite their seminar class to their house for dinner at the end of the semester. So it's just a very tight-knit feel. And the students love the fact that everyone here is so engaged with everything that's going on. So you'll often see students who are involved in theater and research and football and service and studying abroad and somehow doing it all at the same time. So that's kind of the one commonality I would say that ties the students together, is that they're here for that sense of community. They're here for the fact that they get to know their students well, they get to know the faculty well, and they're also no graduate students. And so all your courses will be taught by professors with whom you'll have direct contact with. So that's probably the commonality. Like I said, as for academics, we're very much we're like an academic melting pot. So when you apply to Gettysburg, you're not applying to the School of Arts and Sciences or the School of Engineering or the School of Business. You're just applying to Gettysburg. And so if you want to be a physics and philosophy major on your first day and then switch to chemistry and sociology, you can do that. So you'll see a lot of our students who are double majoring. You'll see a lot of students working with other students from different majors on projects. And so being interdisciplinary is one of our core values, because by learning how to connect one discipline to another, that's what's going to give you the versatility that you'll need in the job market. You guys will be working in the workforce until around 2070 or so, and I have no idea what the job market will look like by then, but we do know that by emphasizing a strong skill set and being able to draw connections, that you will be well equipped for whatever comes your way. That being said, there are a few programs that we are particularly well known for. As you might imagine, history is one of our renowned programs, not only for the enthusiasm of our history faculty and the fact that we have the only minor in Civil War era studies, but also because we have a very close relationship with the Eisenhower family. And so, as I mentioned, I'm sitting in what used to be President Eisenhower's office. This was where he wrote his memoirs. And so he was a pivotal part of the college. He lived in Gettysburg immediately after he left the White House. And about 30 years ago, his granddaughter started what was called the Eisenhower Institute, which is a center for public policy and leadership that is led by the college, with locations both on campus and in DC. And so not only is history very popular for the Civil War side of Gettysburg, but also because of the Eisenhower Institute. And so for students who are interested in political science, public policy, anything within international affairs, this is a really special opportunity because the Eisenhower Institute allows students to take courses that are taught by experts who we hire from outside of the college. And so you're connecting with people who have real world experiences. Susan Eisenhower actually teaches a course herself. And I know she will be taking her students to Normandy, France this year. So you can actually storm the beach of Normandy with an Eisenhower. I think that's pretty cool. We have a course taught by an Israeli intelligence agent on the Middle East. We have a course on politics taught by one of George W. Bush's speechwriters. So just some really amazing opportunities to take fascinating courses and not only take those courses, but get the connections for a variety of internship and job opportunities in DC as well. So we're well known for history, political science, public policy. A lot of students come to Gettysburg for our Conservatory of Music as well. We have a very strong musical culture on campus. And it's very well embedded into the college. And so if you're a music major, yes, you can double major. And if you don't want to major or minor, but you still want to be involved in music, you can still do that. So some students come to us for that. And then a lot of the students come to Gettysburg for the sciences as well. Because we don't have any graduate students, it's very easy for you to get direct research opportunities with the professors. And so you're often doing what graduate students are doing at other universities. So the sciences are very popular. And then finally, I'll say that a lot of our students come here for the study abroad experience as well. We're actually ranked second in the country by the Institute of International Education for studying abroad. And so we'll send about 60% of our students abroad for a semester or a year, and literally anyone can do it. Doesn't matter what your major is, doesn't matter if you're a varsity athlete, there's no additional cost to studying abroad. And so, as a school that emphasizes interdisciplinary learning, what better way to learn from a different perspective than to study in another country. So overall, I would say it's, academically, it's nice to have that blend of students who are coming here for a variety of study abroad programs, or for the sciences, or for history, or for music, or basically anything else under the sun. We have 68 different majors, and a lot of our students, some of our students even choose to design their own major. But like I said, the one thing that I would say ties the students all together is this sense of camaraderie, this sense of community, and pride in being in a tourist town that is as active as Gettysburg is. And so the students are here during the weekends. There's a pretty active campus life with about 130 clubs and organizations, with 9 fraternities and 7 sororities. And we even have themed houses for upperclassmen where students can essentially form residential clubs. So it's a very tight-knit community. But like I said, there's a lot that you can learn about Gettysburg since everyone's coming to Gettysburg for a different major. So I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Taylor. I hope there are some questions that we'll get to a little bit later. But for now, we'll turn it over to Damien and learn more about Johns Hopkins University.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Good evening. Once again, my name is Damien Garcia. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions I'm an Associate Director for Access and Diversity here at Hopkins. So excited to be here and speak with you this evening. As far as many of you may know or may not know, Hopkins is located in the city of Baltimore, Maryland. So I am broadcasting to you live from my office. Previously in this office was a guy named Adam. So I think if you haven't been to the city of Baltimore, if you're not familiar with where Hopkins is, again, we are in the city of Baltimore. Just to give you a frame of reference as to where we are about an hour and a half from Philadelphia, about 3.5 hours from New York City, and we're about 40 minutes from DC. So again, if you know any of those areas or you're from any of those areas, that kind of gives you a reference point for where we are. Hopkins was the first research university in the country. So we sort of hold that precedence. We sort of hold that title as well as being the largest, the most federally funded research program institution in the country today. Now that says a lot for the opportunities that students do have here at Hopkins. And when you think about Hopkins, I know we would tend to understand Hopkins in the sense of pre-med and medicine and science, and certainly research and engineering. But certainly there are lots more for the academic opportunities here at Hopkins. For your purposes, for pursuing undergraduate studies, we'll focus our discussion here tonight on just our undergraduate school, the College of Arts and Sciences, and the School of Engineering, which is all based on the Homewood campus here at Hopkins. Now, no matter what major you're pursuing or interested in, you're going to apply to Hopkins general admission. The one exception to that rule is if you're considering biomedical engineering. That has its own little lane, if you will, and everyone will pursue general admissions at Hopkins. Once you get in the door, you then pursue either your language or political science, history, math, engineering, what have you. So they're at the core. Although we are a research university here at Hopkins, at the core, we do operate in a liberal arts philosophy. And when you combine a liberal arts philosophy with research, you end up with a more focused, hands-on learning approach. Between the two schools, we have roughly 5,500 undergraduate students. So we're a mid-sized campus here in the city of Baltimore. We offer a unique distribution credit system that allows students to really go across educational boundaries and study with different academic mindsets in the room. And what I mean by that, and this is sort of talking about the liberal arts philosophy, it does two key things for Hopkins students. One, it does cross educational boundaries, meaning that we have majors like international studies that will incorporate coursework from political science, economics, international relations, language, and anthropology at times. So that's what I mean by crossing educational boundaries. The second key thing is that it'll teach you how to think critically. When you're in a class here at Hopkins, class sizes are generally 80% of our class sizes are going to be 30 students or fewer. But what's happening in the classroom is that you will have a student, an engineering student, a political science student, a language student. And when you're solving or looking at challenges or looking at problems that the class is bringing up or the discussion that's being had, you'll get a lot of different perspectives. And we want you to hone in on those skills because these are skills not just valuable here at Hopkins, but valuable in the long term and for the length of your career. We have here on the Homewood campus over 300 student clubs and organizations, so lots to get involved in. We're Division III athletically, but also Division I in lacrosse. Research is a part of how you learn. You don't require research to come to Hopkins. It's more of a part of how you learn, how we educate, and it is intentional that we provide as many research opportunities to students, not only in the science and engineering, but also in the humanities, so political science, statistics, economics, language, music, art, film, and media studies. So these are all areas that students have access to in getting engaged in research here at Hopkins. The last thing I'll sort of wrap up with and turn it over to my colleague here is that where we're located, and because of the size of the university, we have a large network. The Hopkins network, the Hopkins name, when you think about Hopkins, I mentioned earlier, you think about Hopkins Medicine, Hopkins Medical School, the Bloomberg School of Public Health, the Peabody School of Music, the School of Advanced International Studies, all within the Baltimore or in the DC area. And our students have access to this network. So there's lots more that students have access to and doing real work in the community here, but also having real research and creating new knowledge as part of that research. So very active and engaged student body as it relates to academic involvement and co-curricular involvement as well. I'm looking forward to talking with you some more and answering more questions. I'll leave it there for now and invite you to submit your questions here this evening.
Really great. Thanks, Damien. And that brings us to Jonathan. Jonathan, tell us about going to college in the Big Apple.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. And hello to everyone that's out there viewing. I am listening to my colleagues talk about their amazing institutions, and it makes me think about how fun it would be to go back to college all over again. So I'm glad to have this opportunity to speak about NYU. But before I start, I do want to say that the other thing that I'm reminded of in listening to these two really distinct kinds of universities and colleges that we just learned about is that this process is really about you, the applicant. And, oftentimes I hear that question, what are you looking for? What is NYU looking for? And I really want to twist that or tweak that question and say that this process is about you understanding yourself and the things that are going to make you happy about your four-year experience as an undergrad, and what kinds of schools will help you meet your goals. And so I want to talk a little bit about the kinds of things that attract people to NYU, and perhaps those are going to be some of the things that would be interesting to you as well. A lot of folks are attracted to New York City. It is an amazing place, and you'll hear this phrase about NYU, in and of the city. We're a university without walls. We are located in Greenwich Village, which is about the midpoint between Midtown Manhattan and the financial district on Wall Street. It's a funky, fun place to be where, with a great deal of artistic expression. And our buildings are surrounding, for the most part, Washington Square Park, which is a New York City park. However, there's also residences, and there's a residential feel around Washington Square Park as well. Many people are attracted to us because we are the largest independent research institution in the country. We have about 25,000 undergraduates and another 25,000 graduate students, all taking advantage of 10 different colleges. For the undergrads, rather, there's 10 different colleges, schools and programs that they can take advantage of, everything from the School of Business, the Stern School of Business, to the College of Arts and Sciences, to the Tisch School of the Arts, and everything in between, the Silver School of Social Work. So there's a lot that students can take advantage of from an academic standpoint, over 250 different areas of study, 4,000 courses to take advantage of. But with all of that size and the largeness, we actually have a 10-to-1 student-faculty ratio, and 80% of the classes are going to be 30 students or less. So there's a large place with a lot of opportunity for connection with faculty. Some students are attracted to NYU because of that research component and the chance to work with folks who are not only excellent teachers, but who are also world-renowned in their field, and winners of Nobel Peace Prizes, or Nobel Prizes for chemistry or economics, or the Abel Prize for mathematics, winners of the Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Golden Globe Awards. We see all of that here amongst our faculty, and that's what our students have access to. The other thing that tends to draw people to NYU is not just New York City, but the fact that we also have 14 global academic centers all around the world. You can literally study at any NYU site around the world, and on every continent, with the exception of Antarctica, of course. And so that international feel, that opportunity to engage in NYU classes with NYU buildings and programs in other locations is also really, really appealing. In fact, students, when they apply to NYU, have the choice of applying to one of 2 or 3 portal campuses. So we have our campus here in New York, our campus in Abu Dhabi, or our campus in Shanghai. You could spend the majority of your time and earn your NYU degree from any one of those campuses. And then lastly, I'll just point to the sense of community once again. 400 clubs and organizations, everything from the Young Republicans and Young Democrats clubs and things that are a little more heavy and serious, to the cookies and movies club, right? So you have everything there and in between. It is a place that is dynamic, that engages folks. If you ask a question at NYU, you're going to find that there are a dozen people who are there willing to help you and answer that question. So it's a wonderful place. And again, that question that I'm hoping folks are tuning in to help them figure out is this school the kind of place that's going to help me meet my goals in the next 4 years, or whenever you are ready to apply to college. So look forward to answering questions a little bit later on.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. Really great overview. And welcome to Franklin from Elmhurst College. Franklin, going to give you a few more minutes to settle in and get your bearings, and turn it over to Rutgers for their welcome and info session. But Franklin, while you're waiting, want to make sure you turn your microphone on so we can hear you when you speak, using the button at the top of your screen. And
yes, thank you.
Cool. Glad you could make it just in time. Let's turn it over to Shai and learn a little bit about Rutgers.
Okay. Good evening and welcome for joining us. Rutgers University-New Brunswick. We are the 8th oldest institution of higher education in the U.S. We were established in 1766, and we just celebrated our 250th anniversary just last year. One of the things I want to tell you is that we're located in New Jersey, and if you're not familiar, the university is about 50 minutes away from New York City, and about 90 minutes from Philadelphia, and 3 hours from Baltimore. One great thing on campus is that the train station's right here, so you can easily be mobile. To tell you a little more about our university, We are a Big Ten school. We are one university of 62 of the Association of American Universities, which also includes Princeton. And Rutgers is committed to our mission of teaching, research, and public service. Like a lot of the universities that just spoke, we engage our students in critical thinking, the liberal arts and humanities. We have a number of schools students can apply to, whether it's the School of Arts and Sciences, School of Engineering, School of Social Work, and a number of universities and colleges within the Rutgers for undergraduate students. We have about 32,000 students that are undergraduate students. Our faculty ratio, however, is 11:1, and we have over 500 student organizations and about 80 fraternities and sororities. And one thing I want to say to you, similarly to what NYU said, is that this is about you and your experience. And when you come to Rutgers, it's the opportunity to find your passion, and that's what we provide. We provide over 100 majors. We have 4,000 classes that you can take. Some of them are specifically geared for small classrooms so that you can explore what you want, because I don't think everyone comes in knowing, I know exactly what I want to do. No, you step on campus and you're curious, and we give you the space to learn. We give you the space to talk intimately with faculty, explore the subject in a fun manner, so that when you dig deep into the core foundations and wonder, why am I doing this? You're like, yeah, I remember it. That faculty class, I want to get to what they're doing. I want to research DNA. I want to work on some cutting edge engineering about solar energy. And so that's what Rutgers has a lot to offer. It's to help you and give you the space and the resources to support your goals, and also connect you with your career aspirations. We Career Services connects students with over 750 employees that come to our campus, and also graduate schools, to connect with you so that you can connect with your next steps before you step off of campus. And, we also have, it's your 4 years, it's the experience of a lifetime. And just like we said, we kind of want to go back for our 4 years, where when you think about the next 4 years, there's so many clubs and sports. There's our school spirit with our Division I sports, with football, and also like intramural sports, and over 500 clubs and organizations. And on top of it, we do have 160 study abroad programs, and it's your chance to be a global citizen. And if you think that study abroad, some students come in and are hesitant, like, oh, I can't do study abroad, but we make those opportunities happen. And if not for our entire semester, because of the caliber courses, we do have alternative spring breaks. We have organizations that promote travel. For example, the Rutgers Global Brigade, they usually do about 1.5 2 weeks trips during the breaks. That gives you an opportunity to volunteer for medical programs and get that experience if you can't fit it in. So I look forward to obtaining your questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Shai. And last but not least, just in the nick of time, Franklin from Elmhurst College.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for your patience. I figured out some technical difficulties. So a little bit about Elmhurst. For those that aren't familiar with our location, we are located about 15 miles west of downtown Chicago, at a straight shot on Interstate 290, if you're familiar with the area, and about a 25-minute train ride on the Metro commuter train line if you use public transportation. And like I said, we are a small private liberal arts college. Our enrollment is a little smaller than my colleagues at Rutgers. We are about 2,800 undergraduate students total, and about 500 graduate students that are either on or off campus for their study. So we do focus on the small environment primarily with our study. Our average class is about 16 students in the room at a time, and the largest class you'll find at Elmhurst College is around 30 students. So that sort of core aspect of close relationships with faculty are really highlighted at a place like Elmhurst. Academically, we really do focus on both the liberal arts, but a strong core in career training. So for every experience a student has where they are enjoying their well-rounded experience. They are taking classes not directly related to their field. They're exploring new majors. There are also opportunities for students to gain important career skills, to do an internship or a research opportunity. Because we are our proximity to downtown Chicago, we have tons of students that are taking advantage of the city frequently. So as much as though we have a vibrant campus life, about 70% of our students who choose to live on campus, we at the same time are pushing them to get off campus, to explore what else the city has to offer, and to get out of and sort of reject the notion of a traditional college bubble. Beyond just the academics, or a bit more about that before I jump, pardon. We academically offer over 60 majors at Elmhurst with some popular programs ranging from nursing and education to a kind of a swath of business programs, a world-famous jazz music program, and then additionally a lot of students that choose the biology, psychology, pre-healthcare routes as well. So a really diverse range of what our students are doing. Extracurricularly, we have 110 clubs and student organizations ranging from fraternities and sororities to community service and religious life, and then over to our sort of more for fun or professional clubs as well. Like the other institutions noted, study abroad is very popular. We have students going to over 60 countries per year. Most notably for us is our January term program, where students can spend the month of January either taking a free course on campus, an internship opportunity, or a shortened study abroad trip. A little different from those traditional semester or year-long programs. So I kind of want to keep it brief. I know I'm kind of jumping in the middle here, so I will leave it at that for now. So thank you very much.
That's perfect, Franklin. Thanks so much again, everybody, for telling us a little bit more about the institutions that you represent. We're going to move from here into a brief moderated conversation and invite our panelists to answer some questions that I'm going to pose to them. And then we're going to get to your questions, or maybe I'll find a way to weave in some of your questions to the topics that we're going to be discussing here. We're 30 minutes in already, panel, so please, think about keeping your answers to these questions as brief as possible, so that every panelist has a chance to respond, and that we also leave plenty of time to get to student questions. Great. So our mission and the audience we have here tonight, for the most part, are students from low-income families or students who will be first in their family to go to college. I want to invite each college to share a little bit more about some of your unique programs or opportunities that you offer specifically for your low-income and first-generation college student population. Let's start with Franklin.
Sure, certainly. So first off, we have a program for our first-gen students that are interested in kind of coming to campus a little bit early and kind of familiarizing themselves with the college environment a bit earlier than our rest of our student body, a program called First Leap, where those students come to class a week early, move into their dorms, and then the current students that we have at Elmhurst that also fall into this category provide a lot of, I think, really crucial on-campus and sort of familiarization and mentoring to that student body. I don't know if we want to jump into specifically like financial aid and financial policy for first students. Is that, Jensen, is now a good time to do that as well? Or should I hold off on that for a moment? We'll get there. Okay.
Next. Yeah.
Thank you. That would be our largest, sort of most unique program that we have for our first-gen students. But as a whole, about 40% of our student body are actually first-gen students. So we are a very mentorship sort of focused institution for that first-gen population.
Awesome. Thanks, Franklin. Taylor?
Great. So Gettysburg College is a pretty diverse community. And so, we're coming from all walks of life, ethnically, racially, first generation, not first generation. We currently have about 40 states and 40 countries represented on campus. And so something that we really celebrate here is the fact that we are a diverse community. And so we have what's called our Mosaic program. And so the Mosaic program is designed to give our first generation students and our students of color, our underrepresented students, the opportunity to, like with Elmhurst, you come to Gettysburg College early as part of an early orientation program, where you get to bond with students who are coming from different places, sometimes from cities, sometimes from rural areas. And once the students get on campus, we have an Office of Multicultural Engagement, and their goal is to really oversee all of our different multicultural organizations on campus, from our Latin American Students Association to our International Students Association. And they have events throughout the year that showcase all of our different students. And so we have events ranging from a international food festival where the students are bringing foods from their different countries and putting on a talent show, to a salsa dancing competition, to events that are held at our African Diaspora House, which is one of our themed houses for upperclassmen. And so it was very easy to feel welcome on our campus. One program in particular that I want to highlight is a partnership that we started 2 years ago with the National Science Foundation. It is a STEM Scholars Program targeting students who are underrepresented in the sciences. So if you're interested in biology, chemistry, biochemistry, math, physics, computer science, this could be a great program for you. We're looking to enroll a cohort of 10 students every year. And it is designed for students who are A, really passionate for the sciences, but B, are really interested in cohort camaraderie. And so if you're part of these 10 students, they live together during their freshman year. They have special research point persons in each of the science departments, as well as a special career advisor who works with all of them. And these students are going on field trips throughout the year. They have bi-monthly luncheons. Our first cohort of STEM scholars actually just began their sophomore year, and 10 out of the 12 of them decide to live together again this year, which is just exciting for us to see. And so if you're interested in the sciences, this is a particularly enticing opportunity for you.
Thanks, Taylor. Really great. Damien.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. At Hopkins, I think I'd like to walk you through the sort of experience you'll have with Hopkins when it comes to first generation students or low income and underserved student groups. One of the first programs we'll see in the fall is our home, Hopkins Overnight Multicultural Experience. This invites first generation students, underrepresented students from across the country to come to campus for a 2-night, 3-day experience of Hopkins and the city of Baltimore. We have students this year who came all the way from the West Coast, all throughout the country in the Midwest, down south, and of course close nearby as well, in Maryland. So that's sort of your first interaction and opportunity to engage Hopkins as a first generation or underserved students. And we fund a lot of those students to get here for those who have the financial need as well. As you go through, you get admitted. In the spring, we have another program called Discovery Days. This is for admitted students now. We bring you back to campus for one last kind of go at it and help you make your decision. Along with that, we started something new fairly recently, and we're continuing it because it was met with such great success, is a specific first-gen fly-in. So we will identify, and for those students that are admitted first-gen, we will fly you in here into Baltimore at Hopkins to experience, again, that spring admitted student program to help you get acclimated here as well and understand the options and choices and get you talking with families, talking with other students. Moving past that, you're admitted, you're excited, you're coming here. We have a program called Hop In. You can tell we like our acronyms, we like our H's here, right? Hop In is sort of the opportunity for you to spend a few weeks on campus before everyone else does to get acclimated. It's not a requirement. It's an optional program that we do geared towards first-gen and low-income students who may feel that they want that opportunity to get acclimated a few weeks earlier before classes officially get started. So that's Hop In. Once you get to campus, the support continues, okay? We then have a first-year mentorship program. And this is one of the really unique things about the Hopkins and the care we put into our students and support is that we offer first-year mentorship experience, supporting students throughout their first year, but this also carries into a second program, your second year, called second-year mentorship as well. So we don't just let you go after freshman year, but we continue that support throughout the second-year experience as well. Once you're here on campus, you have access to the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, which houses our Office of Multicultural Affairs, our LGBTQ office, our Gender and Women's Studies office, as well as our Religious Faith Service offices. So all of these offices are available to support students, both emotionally, sort of physically, mentally, as they sort of learn about their identities, their culture, and help educate others as well, but also help them learn about themselves. And lastly, I'll mention another sort of university-wide support is the Center for Student Success. And within that office, you'll find programs like the Mentoring Assistance Peer Program, MAP, specifically geared for, again, first-gen and underrepresented students to kind of help get their mentorship in whether it be research-based mentorship, internship-based mentorship, and things like that. And lastly, I'll mention another example of support or opportunities for first-gen is our Johns Hopkins Underrepresented in Medical Professions, JUMP program. So again, a strategic focus on supporting students in the medical profession or pursuing medical professions in the sciences. And like that, we also have opportunities like that for engineering, Women in Science and Engineering organization, working with students to provide them the support there. So I just wanted to give you that sort of chronological fact of a series of events and opportunities you have to engage and sort of see how Hopkins supports underrepresented and first-generation students throughout their experience from an applicant all the way through your current student and beyond. Thank you, Matt.
Really, really great, Damien. Thanks so much. We'll pass the baton over to Jonathan.
Thanks, Matt. I'm going to keep it brief, but that shouldn't be confused with limited opportunities and options, because there really are quite a bit. About 18% of our students are first-generation college goers, and some of the programs that we have are actually school specific. So one example of that would be the Proud to Be First program that's in our College of Arts and Sciences, which is a resource program for first generation students and their families. So a series of resources will be laid out on the website. A mentorship program will be developed for those students with faculty members who are also faculty and administrators who are also first in their families to go to college. And so that's a great support network for students there that's college specific. And there are several others in our other schools. There are also those programs that cross the entire university, like the Academic Achievement Program, which is really designed to support students of color and first generation students and students from low socioeconomic backgrounds through their academic and leadership potential, and help them discover that both in a very supportive network environment, as well as with specific programming, bringing in outside speakers and opportunities for them to learn from others. We also have within our Office of Student Affairs in the Career Services Center a program called First Class, which brings folks who have graduated from college or university back to our campus. Folks who were first in their families to go off to college and have now graduated college and established themselves in the real world. They get to come back and speak to first-gen students about their experiences. We just recently had someone come from Google, Gerald St. John, Jean-Baptiste, came back, and he works with Google in their community relations office, and talked about his experience as an undergrad and how he took advantage of the university to end up where he is. So it really is a specific and central part of the undergraduate experience. We want to make sure that those who are first to go off to college don't get lost in the confusion of having so many different options, and we try to help them navigate this space.
All righty, thank you, Jonathan. All right, Shai, would love to learn more about your Student Support Services Division and other great opportunities available at Rutgers.
Okay, just to start, our population, about a third of our students are first-generation students. So one thing that the university is committed is providing support for first generation. Last year we had a new initiative. It was Are You First initiative, and this year we transitioned to making it Are You First Alliance. With that it centers the focus on providing students with this support and knowing that we need to, if we need to change, we will adjust to give the students the support that they need. One of the departments that we have is student access and educational equity, and that provides services to students that are first generation, low income or underserved students. And we provide support through summer bridge programs, co-curricular programs. We have some students when they want to go to conferences or to present, we have an educational outreach grant. So that also gives another avenue where students can get funding for opportunity that maybe they wouldn't have thought out. Some of the programs under student access and educational equity is our TRIO program. So we have for our high school students, upper bound and upper bound math science, and they interact with our college students because we engage with them for community service. The other TRIO program is Ronald E. McNair program, sorry about that. And it helps students, you know, when you're a freshman, you're thinking, oh, I need to get through these 4 years, but I want to do a doctoral program. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. We kind of touch base with the students in their freshman year and say, hey, if you want a doctoral program, there is an avenue and a pathway to do that. And during your second year, you can start applying for that. And when students are in that program, we assist them with GRE waivers. We provide them research opportunities to connect with faculty. And then they have a symposium to do the showcase for the posters. So they get that real experience, and we prepare them for graduate studies. So when they do apply and have interviews, you know, the graduate programs and doctoral students know that Rutgers has to prepare these students. Our students have gone to Harvard, have gone to Yale, and a number of high prestigious universities. The other program is our EUF program. So if you're a New Jersey resident and you're admitted through the EUF program, we provide you with a summer bridge program where you take classes. We provide counseling and advising and give you the tools that you need to succeed. So once you start the first semester, you can hit the ground running. You're not struggling to find out where different campuses or buildings are, and you know where to get the support that you need. And the other TRIO program we have is Student Support Services. And through that program, it's offered to first generation, low income students. And if students are admitted, we give them a lot of workshops, modules. And sometimes it's not all about just the focus of academics. We also do social events to also help you create your network. And one thing I'm gonna switch it over to Kiara Peen. Last year we started our Paul Robeson Leadership Institute, and she's part of our first cohort, so she can speak more about that.
Hello, my name is Kiara Peen. I am a sophomore here at Rutgers University, and I'm studying psychology and communication with the goal of going to grad school and becoming a psychologist. So I am a scholar and ambassador for the Paul Robeson Leadership Institute, which is named after Rutgers' third graduating African-American, Paul Robeson. And the program is it's a 4-year program. It starts off over the summer. So students will come in that program. You learn leadership skills, and you are put through workshops and classes. And these classes are designed to teach you leadership skills, become a global citizen, learn about your community, you know, other first generation like issues that you may have, and financial aid. So through the 4 years, even after the summer institute, you are given an advisor. So that advisor, you are to meet with them at least once a semester to keep up with like what you're doing and lead you towards where you'd like to go. So my advisor, I started off pre-med, but through my advisor's help, I decided to get off that track and head more towards like taking things like applying towards programs like McNair and going towards what I want to do to become a psychologist. So also in this program over the 4 years, you'll be taking different classes that are meant to give you leadership qualities and teach you about other cultures. So for example, like I taking Intro to Africana or taking Intro to Latino Studies to make you more aware of your surroundings and make you more aware of the struggles of other people in the world.
And I just have a few more. One of the things for students that are interested in engineering, we actually have a couple of programs that support students. So we have Engineers of the Future, and that's to assist first generation students. It's, you know, we give them financial support, advising, and academic support. We also have National Action Council for Minorities of Engineering. And similarly, it gives support to African American, Indian, and Latino women and men in science, technology, and mathematics. And then we also have the Minority Engineering Educational Task, NESB, Society of Hispanic Engineers, Society of Women Engineers. So we actually have a number of programs to support first generation or low income or underserved engineers in that program. And then we also have ODASIS, which is the Office of Diversity and Academic Success in Sciences. And this program helps students that are first generation or low income to succeed in STEM fields. And a lot of the students in ODASIS are on the medical track. So it keeps them focused on the medical studies. They have the advisor that assists them on making the plan of courses. And also we have preparation classes for the MCATs so that when they're done their 4 or 5 years, they're ready and prepared to apply for medical school. And the last thing I'm going to close off with is, and I'm going to mention it again, it's Are You First. You know, some students, they may not fit into these programs, but if anyone who's watching, if you come here at Rutgers and you need to connect, I would say connect with Are You First under Student Access and Educational Equity, because we will find a place for you, whether it's student support services, connect you with ODASIS, connect you with the engineering programs so that you can get the support that you need to succeed. And also in Are You First, we have Are You First Fridays, because we also realize the importance to cultivate your network. We have high-level administrators or faculty sometimes join us on these events, and sometimes they're fun. Sometimes it's like wine and sip, learn how to de-stress. Or we do cultural events where last year we went to a Broadway show. This year we're going to an opera. And the one thing I say to all students that come here, sometimes they're like, Missy, that's not my thing. But I say, if you have the opportunity, come and try it out. So at least you understand, you know what you like, you know what you don't like. And then at the end of the day, at least it's a story. You made a story for you during the 4 years that you're here. So that's a really great thing about Are You First. It connects students with all the different programs and support, or individuals that can aid them on their success.
Awesome, great. Thanks for that. Always awesome to have a student voice to share their experience as well. So thank you for joining us. Let's move the conversation into financial aid. Obviously, college costs are a big deal for so many students and families, and there's lots of misperceptions out there about how financial aid works and what the actual costs of college are. So the way I want to frame this question for our panel to respond to is if I'm a Pell eligible student, for example, or someone who otherwise has financial need, what kind of assistance might I expect from your institution? So let's go back to Franklin. I think you're with us, but maybe having some trouble with your webcam. So if you're still connected, we'd be happy to listen and hear a little bit more from you. Franklin? We're not getting your audio either, man. I'm sorry. Going once, going twice. All right. Taylor, if you could hop in on the financial aid question.
Yeah, so, in addition to, the mentoring that you receive as an underserved student on our campus, we understand that financially that there are huge barriers to college. And the first thing I'll say, and I say this on behalf of all of my colleagues here, is to not be afraid of a college's sticker price, because, we are committed to making this education possible for you. And so when it
Thanks, Taylor. Over to you, Damien.
Great. I wanted to, so yeah, absolutely. Hopkins is committed to meeting the need of students that we admit. I think it's important to first note that we do meet 100% of financial need for 4 years of study for students who we admit. So we definitely want to make it affordable for students from all walks of life who are admitted to Hopkins. Roughly 15% of our incoming freshman class are Pell recipients. So that support is there. We offer more need-based aid to students who have that need. And like I mentioned earlier, I think I'm going to keep this short and simple, is the fact that we do offer full need to the families who demonstrate a need at this time. And I'll leave it there for now and certainly entertain other questions about that. But that's sort of, it's our sort of a simple, plain response to meeting the need and meeting students financially. Thank
Great.
you.
Jonathan and NYU.
Yeah, so with respect to your question, if you're a student who is Pell eligible, that means that there is a fairly low expected family contribution, and our financial aid process, like Hopkins, is based on need, and about 20% of our students are Pell eligible, and whatever that family contribution is, we create a financial aid package that meets the difference between what that family can afford to pay and the overall price tag for attending NYU. There are two forms that are expected: the FAFSA and the College Scholarship Service Profile, the CSS profile. Those two forms submitted by the deadline gets a student considered for any sort of financial aid that we have. 99.1% of our financial aid is need-based aid. The very, very tiny percentage that is merit-based aid is students are automatically considered for that. There's no separate application process. So it's a need-based aid system. We are also need blind in our admissions process, which means that as we're evaluating applications, a student and a family's ability to pay is not a consideration in our decision-making process. We don't even have that information available to us as we're making our admissions decision. So they are two separate processes. But the key there is that it is a need-based aid system that's based on what that family can afford to pay as determined by the FAFSA and the CSS profile.
Perfect. Thank you, Jonathan. And Rutgers financial aid.
Okay. So with our students is for this year, if you're coming in for the 2018-19 academic year, we encourage all our incoming students to submit their FAFSA by December 1st, 2017, so that they can be considered for all possible aid. 79% of our students do receive financial aid. One of the pieces is 12% of our incoming students receive scholarships. And when you apply to Rutgers, and you also have to submit your application by December 1st to be considered, admissions automatically reviews your application for scholarship eligibility. And those scholarship ranges between from $3,500 to $27,400 per year. And they're renewable as long as you meet the requirements, such as earning the credits that you need and maintaining your GPA. And we also do have if you're incoming students and you need additional assistance, we do have an appeal process, and that's something that you would reach out to the financial aid office and share with them your needs, and then it will be reviewed. And just, I guess, one piece, as you continue on at Rutgers, one of the things that RU First and Student Support Services does is that we really go into financial literacy, and that means helping students plan for their 4 years, also how to seek for scholarships. And we do tie it into academics. A lot of my students, we encourage them, keep your grades up, come to tutoring, come to peer mentorship, and be active in your community so that we can help you apply for scholarships, so that your second, third, and fourth year, you can search for scholarships, receive scholarships, so that you can keep the cost down as you attend.
Great, really good information about financial aid and how students are going to be able to afford and to pay for your institutions. We did have a question that maybe one or two of you can address from a student, Keneal, who has divorced parents, and he is just unsure of how financial aid works when you have divorced parents, and whose income, I guess, is considered in the financial aid formula.
Yeah, so I'm happy to jump in there, Matt. There is what's known within the financial aid forms as a non-custodial parent form. And if a student is coming from a divorced family, the expectation is that we would get information from both parents, both the parents where the student spends the most of their time, and from the other parent as well. And in the case where a student may not be in touch with that non-custodial parent, there is a waiver form that can be submitted. So if the information is just not available and it's too difficult to track down that parent, they would need to submit that form. But the key is to complete all of those forms and not to assume because they aren't in touch with that other parent that there's nothing else for them to do. They really should submit that non-custodial waiver so that the college knows that there was an attempt to reach out to the non-custodial parent in that situation.
And I'll jump in for Rutgers.
Thanks.
Parents are divorced or separated. You're going to use parents' information, or if you split times almost evenly, you're going to use the parent that provides the majority of providing for you. And so that's the information you would submit. For students that, we've had a couple of students that they know their parents are getting divorced, they know that they're about to separate, but they haven't yet. For those students, I would say when you submit the FAFSA, file it as what is current at the time you filed. So if they're still married and together in the same household, you're going to submit that information using both information. However, if when you arrive on campus that they've already separated and they have two separate residencies, or they've already divorced, that's when you're going to reach out to the financial aid office and submit a change in family circumstance. And then they will reevaluate your financial need based on that information.
Okay, great information.
Matt, if there's one other thing that I would add, I would simply say that students and families should not feel afraid to reach out to the financial aid offices. Many of them have office hours. They have folks who are there to answer phone calls or to respond to emails. They need to feel comfortable engaging in this process and asking questions either before they submit forms or as they're submitting them. It's really okay.
Good, great advice. I appreciate that. We have one other financial aid related question that seems appropriate from Yewa, and it's directed to NYU, but I suppose you could open up a more general conversation as well for a minute or two. But Yewa is asking how accurate the net price calculator on NYU's website is, and I think it could be good to have a short conversation about net price calculators in general.
Yeah, so a few years back, the federal government required colleges and universities to place on their website a net price calculator. It is general. The net price calculator can't go into great detail about assets and liabilities that a family may have that could tweak the amount of financial aid that is available. And so it does give you a ballpark as to, for NYU, it does give you a ballpark, but it is based on really sort of general information. and it also doesn't give you a sense of how the breakdown might look in terms of the amount of institutional grant aid versus loans, and can't really account for any sort of outside scholarship that a student might achieve, and how that impacts the way that that financial aid package is going to look. But it can give you a bit of a general sense as to how much your family is expected to contribute to the overall costs.
Thanks, Jonathan. We're getting so many student questions, and I want to get to them. Before we do that, I want to invite each of you to just walk us through as quickly as possible important deadlines, application requirements, anything unique about how your admissions process that you might want students to know about. So let's start with Taylor if he's still with us. We've lost your video, but I think you're still there. Yes. Yes. Unfortunately not, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. Hey, Taylor. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm just seeing the chats that the students watching aren't able to hear you. We're able to hear you. The presenters are at least, but we're not seeing you. So maybe if you want to try to log out and then rejoin, that might be our best bet. But for whatever reason, the students are. Yeah. All right. I appreciate that. In the meantime, let's turn it over to Damien.
Yes, thanks, man. And for what it's worth, I wasn't able to hear Taylor myself. It looks like some of my colleagues weren't. So talking about the application process, you'll hear the term sort of holistic review used quite often. And I want to make sure we understand that when we talk about holistic review, we're putting you in context where with all the information you're going to provide, we're going to take as much time as possible to understand all of it and understand the context in which it's coming from, your environment, your academic institution, and your sort of your family home as well. When we look at all the application materials that you send to Hopkins, we're going to consider these three areas that we understand to be critical in our successful students at Hopkins. We talk about academic character, impact and initiative, and the making the match. Academic character refers to all what you've done academically in high school up until the time you apply, and certainly till you graduate high school. So we're looking at rigor, we're looking at your test scores, the classes you've chosen, GPA, rank, teacher letter recommendations. All of that play a role in determining and assessing your academic character. So that's the first thing. The second thing we're going to look at is your impact and initiative, things that you do outside of the classroom that play a role in your community, whether you're a captain or a player on the basketball team, or you're a tennis player, maybe you're involved in Model UN, your first robotics, or a chess player, maybe you're involved in your community, in your church. So when I say involved in your community, it does not mean necessarily all community service, but how are you making an impact in your high school, in your home, at your job? Maybe you have family responsibilities that we do want to understand that as well. So that's the impact and initiative piece that we're trying to assess. And lastly, we're looking at the match. How do you simply asking the question, do you get Hopkins? And that information is sort of gleaned from your response to our supplement statement. So definitely want to think about that. Spend as much time as you can interfacing with Hopkins, researching Hopkins, and getting in front of admission counselors or students and learning as much as you can from our website as well. And our recent revamped resource online called Hopkins Insider. HopkinsInsider.com. It's a great resource to learn directly from the mouths of students, or from the computers or desks of students, as they kind of blog about their experiences and how they get internships, how they go about research, and what they're currently doing on campus. A little bit more logistically, as we go through, we require 3 recommendation letters, 2 from a teacher, 2 from teachers, 2 teacher recs, 1 from a counselor. We require SAT or ACT. You're welcome to send in additional test scores, but know that it's optional, and we only require the SAT or the ACT, and we do super score those as well. You can apply to Hopkins through the Common Application, the Universal College app, or the Coalition. So those 3 ways to apply. We don't have a preference for one over the other. It's what's most comfortable for you, and depending on where you're coming from, there might be different emphasis on a different application. So we have early decision. That's November 1, coming up very shortly, and regular decision January 3rd. For the right student, early decision could be the right choice. It's a binding agreement and a binding commitment that you make. You talk with your family, you talk with your counselor, you talk with yourself to find out and understand if Hopkins is going to be the right match for you. And if it is, and your academic character is where it should be, it's strong, if your impact and initiative is where you'd like it to be and it's strong, and you make a good match with Hopkins, there's no reason why we shouldn't have a successful application there. And early decision can be a reasonable choice for many students. If you're sitting there and thinking it doesn't matter when I'm admitted to Hopkins, I'm going, then maybe early decision is a good choice. There's no difference in financial calculations. When we talk about meeting the need of every student, the same calculations that happen in November or December are the same calculations that will happen in March and April when we provide information to regular decision students as well. So that's our process in a nutshell, and I'm looking forward to more questions.
Can everyone hear me or see me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So I guess I'll just continue what I was saying, but to quickly recap what I was saying before, like I said, our process is holistic. We're looking at a lot of different factors. And as I mentioned, we have 2 rounds of early decision, November 15th and January 15th, as well as a regular decision deadline of January 15th. And as I was saying before, before my camera cut out, the most important part of your application is your transcript, but we're also looking at other factors as well. So as I mentioned, we are test optional. So that's not something you need to submit if you don't want to. That being said, it will simply place more emphasis on your transcript. But apart from your academics, we're also looking at the potential contributions that you would make to our community. So whether you are involved in a club, or you're involved in your church, or you're involved in, doing community service, or you're babysitting, or you have a job, all of those things count as extracurricular activities to us. And so when I'm reading a student's application, once I answer the question of whether or not they can succeed here academically, the next question that I'm going to ask is this a student who is going to contribute something to campus? Are you going to be an artist, a musician, an activist, a researcher, an actor? And so we're interested in the things that you're involved in. And all the students at Gettysburg, they have different passions, but they're passionate about something. Doesn't necessarily matter what that is. We're looking for students who are coming from all walks of life, but we want to see that you've demonstrated a dedication to something. And so I'd much rather see dedication to a few extracurricular activities rather than a laundry list of about 50 different things that you may be only slightly involved in. We're also going to look at your letters of recommendation. We require one teacher and one counselor because that's going to give us a good sense of what you're like in the classroom. And then finally, we're going to look at your essay on the Common Application. So we are exclusive to the Common Application. We do not have a supplement, so there's no additional essay that you need to fill out unless you're interested in the STEM Scholars Program, for which there's an essay regarding why you're interested in the sciences. And then all of those things are really coming together in the process for us. And the last feature that we include in our admissions process is what we refer to as demonstrated interest. And so what that means is if you have reached out to us, if you have had the chance to visit campus, or maybe you've done an interview. We highly encourage students to do interviews. We have interviews both on campus and off campus at major cities throughout the United States. And so you can sign up for an off-campus interview on our website. So however you choose to get in touch with us, those things matter to us. And so the students that show that demonstrated interest do have a slight edge in the admissions process. But like I said, the heart is your academic potential, your academic background. But all those other factors come into play throughout the process for us.
Well, Matt, looks like maybe we've lost your audio now.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
But I'll go ahead and jump in. My colleagues Damien and Taylor did a phenomenal job of describing the holistic review process and what's important in this evaluation and selection process. And so I won't reiterate I won't reiterate there, but there are some distinctions that I do need to make that are specific to NYU. We are a Common App school, so you apply to NYU through the Common Application. And when you go on the Common Application, you have an option of selecting 1, 2, or 3 of our portal campuses. So you can rank order your interest in spending the majority of your undergraduate years, either in New York, in Abu Dhabi, or in Shanghai. You can list all 3 in rank order of your interest, or you can choose one as your primary area of where you'd like to study. And so that's the first thing that you would do. And then you would identify the school and the program that you're most interested in. The deadlines that we have 2 early decision programs. November 1 is right around the corner for early decision 1. And similar to Hopkins, it is a binding agreement. If a student is admitted early decision, they have to withdraw their applications to all other schools. If you apply November 1, you will hear by December 15th what that decision might be. The early decision 2 deadline is January 1, and that decision comes back to you on February 15th. And the only difference between early decision 1 and early decision 2 is the date, and it's still a binding agreement. Our regular decision process is a January 1 deadline. You find out by the end of March what that final decision might be. Now, Our financial aid deadlines correspond with those application deadlines as well. So for early decision 1, application deadline November 1, financial aid deadline November 15th. January 1 for early decision 2 application, January 15th for the financial aid deadline. And January 1 for regular decision, February 15th for the financial aid deadline. But here's what's key. The FAFSA and the CSS profile are available now. There's absolutely no need to wait. You can fill out those forms, get them in, do not wait, get them in now. There's nothing keeping you from filling out those forms. So do it now so that you're not finding yourself either pushed up against the deadline or applying after the deadline and jeopardizing your ability to get financial aid. A couple other important things. You have to submit testing to NYU, but we have a flexible testing policy, meaning that we really want you to put your strongest testing foot forward. So that means if you do your best testing work on the SAT, you can submit that. If it's the ACT, you can submit that. Or you could submit 3 SAT-2s, 3 subject tests, or 3 AP scores. If you're in an IB program, you can submit your IB predicted scores. But it's your choice, and we want you to put your best testing foot forward. We do have a supplement to the essay, and that supplement is Why NYU. And that idea of demonstrated fit, that idea that I introduced earlier about understanding what it is that you want from your 4-year experience, that's where that comes through in our process. That Why NYU should reflect how you've done your research and you understood how NYU meets your academic and personal needs. And that's where you should really identify that in the application process. And lastly, we have the Tisch School of the Arts. And within our Steinhardt School of Culture, Education, and Human Development, there are some artistic review programs like the musical theater program or vocal performance. Any artistic review program at NYU, whether it's in Tisch or in Steinhardt, has an optional testing submission. So if you have to submit a portfolio or if you have to audition in order to be admitted to a program at NYU, you can opt out of submitting your standardized testing. So that, along with what was already talked about in terms of that holistic review process, that contextual evaluation, where we look at one piece of information and we try to understand it in the context of everything else that's submitted. But there's never, ever one piece of information that gets you admitted or one piece of information that would keep you from being admitted. That's the process that we engage in with all of that. So we look forward to seeing your applications when they get here.
Thanks, Jonathan. And last but not least, Rutgers.
Okay, so for Rutgers students, there's 2 places that they can apply for Rutgers. One is a coalition application, and if you get free lunch, the fee is waived. The other one is directly on our admission site, which is admissions.rutgers.edu/apply. Just to give you the dates, the early action, similar to the other schools, is November 1st. And if you're admitted, the decision is made on January 31st. If you're regular action, it's December 1st. And you'll find your online decision starting from February 28th. The one thing is if you apply by December 1st, all students who apply by December 1st, they're going to be automatically reviewed to see if they're eligible for scholarships. And if they are, then students will receive notification around February. And with the application, it's you go online. If you start it, you can always save it if you don't finish it. And what we ask is to submit an essay, your SAT or ACT scores, and we ask you to self-report your academic courses in high school, and then later on, you'll have to submit the transcript.
Awesome, Shai. All right, let's take a deep breath here. We had scheduled 90 minutes for the chat, which we're at now. And I just want to kind of see how you guys are feeling, if you want to stick with us for a little bit longer to get to some student questions. You guys have already answered a lot of the students' questions, which is awesome. And I'm going to try to kind of avoid any questions that have come in that are specific for one institution. Students who are still with us, I want to encourage you to contact these colleges individually and these representatives even directly with those institution-specific questions. But I do want to be responsive to some of the great, really interesting questions that we're getting from our students. So maybe we can hang on 10, 15 minutes more to get to at least a few of these questions. And then we're going to also encourage our college panelists to reach out directly to the students who have registered for the event today. We're going to share your information with them, with our colleges, to be honest, and encourage them to reach out to you directly as well to keep the conversations going. So with that, scouring through these questions here, I'm going to start with a question from Omo Eng Heme. I hope I did that name justice. But their question is about dorm life. If you could speak in 30 seconds or less about what do the dorms look like on your campus, and do you have suite options is specifically part of that question. So let's go down the line, starting with Gettysburg.
Sure. So with regards to housing, the first thing you want to know is that we're a highly residential campus. So 95% of our students are living on campus for all 4 years. And except for some exceptions for seniors, students are required to live on campus for all 4 years. We figured, that's what really keeps the community going. And so we want everyone to be a part of that. So during your first year, the way housing works is that everyone is assigned to, or everyone requests to take a first year seminar course. So this is a course that's capped at 16 students, very discussion oriented, writing intensive. And these are courses that are based on all kinds of different passions that the professors have. So, there's a course on death and the meaning of life. There's a course on reading the brain. There's a course on why do we dance. There's a course on rhythms in the natural world. It's a music class. So about 20 different courses that, run the gamut in terms of topic. And that first year seminar is what dictates your housing. And so you're living with students who share that common interest with you. So all of our first year students are living with a roommate. And like I said, it's based upon your seminar. And they try to put similar seminars together in a building since they're, the buildings have more than 16 students. So they'll try to put topically similar seminars together. So that's how it works during the student's first year. Once you get past your first year, you have a lot of options to open up to you. So students can choose to live in singles or doubles or suites or apartment style living with their friends. Like I said, that is guaranteed to all of our students. Preference for our residence halls goes in GPA order. So the students with the highest GPAs choose their residence halls first, and so on and so forth. So some of our students choose that option. Other students choose to join our Greek system. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 9 fraternities and 7 sororities. So that is another housing option, although not all students who are in fraternities or in sororities live in those houses. And then if neither of those options appeal to you, I know I also mentioned previously, we have about 20 different themed houses on campus. And so these are essentially like residential clubs that students can be involved in. So there is a science house, a writing house, there's a humor house for those of you comedians out there. There's even a Disney house that works with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so like I said, there are around 20 of those different houses, each housing 15 to 20 students. And so the idea is that you can find a little sub-community within the larger community, Gettysburg. And so between the Greek housing and the residence halls consisting of the double, single suites and the themed housing, the whole idea is that there's something for everyone. We want the students to want to live on campus. And so you can mix and match those different residential options throughout your 4 years and throughout your 3 upper class years. And so if you want to do a year in a themed house, a year in a Greek house, a year in a suite, or you just wanted to stick in one of those options for 3 years, you are welcome to do that. So like I said, first year, it's based on your seminar, and then you have all those different options that are opening up to you. But the key takeaway point is that you do have that opportunity to live on campus and to be a part of everything that's going on for all 4 years.
Great, thanks. Damien?
Yeah, sure. At Hopkins, you're required to live on campus your first 2 years. So freshman and sophomore, you're living on campus, on the Homewood campus. So in the heart of everything, close to everything. After that, there's a mixture of off and on-campus housing. Now, off-campus housing can seem a little bit concerning, but let me reassure you that off-campus housing means you're a block or two from the campus. So it's a part of city living, a part of city opportunity. So freshman dorms are typically, small, typically nice rooms that have your own kitchenette, and they look like apartments, miniature apartments. And then you go into sophomore year and beyond, where you have living options that are more city apartment building style, with some of the dormitories and residence halls here. Again, many of the housing opportunities after sophomore year exist on campus and off campus. Off campus being just across the street and in Hopkins' own building, and sometimes non-Hopkins' own building. So when you see that rate of off and on campus, know that no one's actually commuting more than 2 blocks from the Homewood campus, where most of your student life will be. I'll end it there. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Jonathan, I know there was 1 or 2 questions specifically about housing at NYU being in the big city.
Yeah, we are in the big city, and we do have housing. So at NYU, you're guaranteed housing for all 4 years. We have 11 different residence halls with all sorts of options: high rises, low rises, mid rises, singles, doubles, 3-room or 2-room quads and suites. The dorm rooms are really the first access to community. A lot of things happen in the residence halls on your floor, field trips to Broadway shows and concerts and things like that. There are academic themes, and there are cultural themes and social themes that attract students. Your first year roommate is going to be someone who may have similar living habits as you, but will likely be from someplace very far from where you live, if not across the country, from some other place around the globe. And the key feature of NYU housing is that every single room has its own bathroom.
Wow, very cool. All righty, housing at Rutgers?
Okay, so I wanted to talk about housing at Rutgers because I'm a student at Rutgers University. I'm a sophomore, as I said before. So Rutgers has 5 different campuses, and they all have a different feel. So College Ave is more city, and I live on Douglas, and that's more of like a rural, like bunch of trees and nice green scenery. Every student enters into a raffle after their first year, but they call it a raffle, but every student usually ends up getting a place to stay. There is traditional styles or suite styles. You can get a single and an apartment. Most students have roommates, but you can choose not to have a roommate if it's for accessibility reasons or because you don't feel comfortable living with someone. So that's always an option. But I recommend getting a roommate because it's a great experience. You fill out a survey your freshman year, and you choose how like this you are or how much you like to study and when you like to sleep, and then you get paired with a roommate. We offer things like living learning communities. There's living learning communities that go into psychology or teaching you leadership skills or business skills, and you take a class with those group of people that you live in that community, and you spend the whole semester with them taking those classes together and just learning together and building that community. The first 2 years at Rutgers, housing is guaranteed, but the last 2 years, you most likely will get housing on campus. It's based on seniority and based on how many credits you have. But most students after their second year choose to live off campus. There's off-campus apartments or off-campus Greek houses that you can live on, or even just cheaper housing options that you can live in.
Awesome. Really great overview, everybody. I lost track of who this question came from, but I thought it was so good, and I want to ask everybody. It was actually directed to Gettysburg, but I want to give everybody a chance to address it. And it is there any unique tradition on your campus?
Yeah, so we have a lot of traditions at Gettysburg. I would say my favorite tradition is called the first year walk. And so this is something that takes place during orientation, where all of our first year students, so about 700 students, they walk together from campus to the National Cemetery, which was where the Gettysburg Address was given. So it's about a 10-minute walk from here. And so imagine 700 students walking together across the town. And you have everyone who lives in the town. They are on the sidelines with welcome home signs, and they're cheering, and they're throwing out free t-shirts and water bottles and candy, and there's a drone in the air filming it. And then once the students get to the National Cemetery, we have a special guest who gives the Gettysburg Address every year. And I think it's just a great way to introduce the students to the historical significance of where they are. And I'd say it's one of our most spirited events of the year. And so that's probably my favorite of our traditions. Some of our other traditions include our annual winter formal dance.
Taylor, just for the sake of time.
Okay,
Sorry to cut
that's
you off,
my one favorite. There you go.
That was great. Yeah, let's pick one favorite, everybody.
Sure.
Tradition for your campus, Damien.
Sure. I'll describe sort of the one that's most recent, and that was something called Hoptoberfest. And it's held every October at campus. It celebrates the Homewood community here. Students, faculty, and staff, they get together for a weekend. Traditional fall activities. They do pumpkin carving, pumpkin painting, pie eating contest, a haunted house, a game of laser tag. So all of these things are part of one of the traditions that happens just seasonally here as we're in this season of October and sort of that spirit. So Hoptoberfest is one of the traditions I'll stand by this month for engagement in the community.
Awesome, thanks. Jonathan?
Yeah, so lots of great traditions like Ally Week and Club Fest and Strawberry Festival. But the one that's actually one of my favorites is the Gallatin School of Individualized Study sponsors a fashion show. And so you have budding fashion designers who will have their clothes featured, and it's always a lot of great funky themes, and you have people from the New York City fashion scene showing up and getting a chance to watch these new clothes modeled.
Thanks, Jonathan. And Rutgers?
Well, one real quick one. I'll say you can't come to Rutgers and not have a fat sandwich.
Yeah. Another thing that I would say are the football games, definitely, because at convocation, when you are welcomed into your with your freshman class, you learn all of the cheers and all the chants for the football game. So going to your first football game and wearing that first scarlet t-shirt with all your friends and doing the chants for like first down, I think that is our biggest tradition.
Awesome. Yeah, you are our lone public university representation on the panel, and I think the only with big time football as well. So thanks for that. All right, let's close this. Let's close out our awesome chat for today with a question from Jeanette, and she's going to put you on the spot, but I think you guys can do it. She wants you to describe your school in 5 words or less.
Okay, I guess I'll start. I would say 5 words or less. Okay, enthusiastic, engaged, multifaceted, open-minded, and I have one more word, right? And the last word I'll say is fun.
Awesome, thanks, Taylor. Damien.
Yeah, sure. I'll just go with 2, if I can. Cool nerds. That sort of embodies the student spirit here, and that just describes sort of the student who's academically passionate, but also can be engage socially in the community and know how to sort of translate that passion from the classroom to the social environment, to the community, to other disciplines as well. And they really just drop your jaws, or shockingly impressive. So cool nerds is what I would go with.
Thanks, man. And Jonathan, NYU, in 5 words or less.
Home to Earth's boldest.
All right. Did you just make that up on the spot, or is that the tagline for the
It is not the tagline, but it's something that we actually discussed quite a bit.
It should be, yeah. All right, cool. And Rutgers, in 5 words or less.
Okay. Extraordinary, diverse, accessible, and
how about a word or two from our student?
That's it.
Okay, yeah, I would say research focused, inclusive, and spirited.
Awesome. Well, on that note, we're going to conclude the live web chat for this evening. I really appreciate everybody playing with us, and for the panelists working late for us as well. We are going to follow up with everybody and share our college panelists' contact information with you, and vice versa. So I hope there's some good conversations and question asking that happens after the fact. One more reminder to go visit imfirst.org to check out our online community for first-generation college students, and striveforcollege.org if you're looking for some extra assistance with your college admissions application process. Sign up and connect with a mentor there to help you. Again, best of luck to everybody, and have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
Good night.